Coming up in the news, work on the island's premier healthcare facility to be accelerated. A local physician calling for the Ministry of Health's dashboard to be amended once again. And the Abaco Christian Council shares how they're coping during this time. The Bahamas Tonight, the Northern Edition, starts now.
This is the Bahamas Tonight, Northern Edition.
This is the Bahamas Tonight, the Northern Edition. Good evening, all. I'm Megan Shepard. Thank you so much for tuning in. Topping news, work on Grand Bahamas' premier healthcare facility is being accelerated. A team of government officials toured the facility today, along with the lead project manager. The hospital suffered extensive structural damage during Hurricane Dorian, but as Romiko Knowles tells us, progress is being made.
7 contractors are conducting the renovations being done to the Rand Memorial Hospital, and more than 120 contractual workers are expected to be on the site within the next week. Some of the upgrades include a new pharmacy, ICU, and a pediatric zone. Lead project manager overseeing all capital projects for the Public Hospitals Authority and the Ministry of Health, Terrence Cartwright, says although the work is being fast-tracked, everything is being built to code. He notes that one of the upsides to the renovation is that they're now able to correct things they weren't able to before.
As you saw, the operating theater is 95% completed. Just the flooring and the walls need to go in and just clean up the air conditioning systems, re-outfit. The wards are totally finished to the point where we just need to put down flooring and actually paint. The rest of the main hospital where pediatrics is, and the main entrance and pharmacy, we're cleaning those up as we speak. And right now all the registration and records and all the auxiliary services we're trying to get in place as we speak as well. But you have to remember the RAN is an old building, built about 11 to about 13 individual buildings. And what we want to do is make sure the roof is structurally sound prior to the hurricane. So our concentration is in demolition and the roofing system. And with that in the building being watertight, we can work with inside the facility and complete all the work as necessary. So there's a stage redevelopment program that's in place, and we will facilitate that.
In addition to the upgrades, there is an area specifically for persons with infectious diseases, such as COVID-19. Cartwright says the unit will house up to 7 individuals.
And what is key to this area is making sure the staff is safe. And the way to do that is when you transition from a clean space into potentially infectious space, and then you transition out of that, you need to be able to put on clothes or PPEs, deal with the patient, and then go through a separate area in order to be able to take those clothes off, sanitize, and shower if you need to before you go back into another patient area. So when you see the workflows with respect to that, that is what we're actually doing.
Deputy Prime Minister the Honourable K. Peter Turnquest says once repairs started at the Rand Memorial Hospital, it became more apparent that additional work was needed, and as a result, the project was extended longer than anticipated. The Minister of Disaster Preparedness Management and Reconstruction, the Honourable Iram Lewis, says to date, he's pleased with the efficiency in which progress is being made at the healthcare facility.
We recognize and certainly appreciate the inconvenience of the persons and patients, as well as the staff that are operating out of the Samaritan's Purse tents, and we certainly want to get them back into the hospital as quickly as possible. I would be remiss if I didn't express a special thank you to all of the frontline workers, the nurses and the doctors, but most particularly those who are often overlooked. That is all of the support staff that goes into making sure that this operation runs and that our people are safe. And so I want to say a special thank you to everybody that is involved in providing care to our people.
The rate at which we're going now, the size of the workforce, the focus of the workforce and all the relevant project management team, we're moving in the right direction. And we will not be slackening our ride anytime soon. It's now time to tighten up on the reins and ensure that we continue to press forward, doing the right things in a more expeditious manner. So I'm confident that over the next 10 weeks or so, we will see a tremendous turnaround with respect to work at the Rand Memorial Hospital.
Now, one of the things worth making special note of is that the 2020 Atlantic hurricane season is fast approaching. And while there remains quite a considerable amount of work to be done, the lead project manager, Terrence Cartwright, says that they plan to open parts of the hospital within the next 10 to 12 weeks. As for the entire healthcare facility, he says within the next 5 months. Romiko Knowles, ZNS Network News.
A new dashboard crafted by the Ministry of Health yesterday. The dashboard, which includes the country's statistics as it relates to COVID-19, now has a new and improved look with more information. But a piece of information that some consider vital is missing. At least one doctor in Grand Bahama says the quarantine numbers must be reinstated, noting that it is imperative in the country's fight against COVID-19. Italia Hall has more.
We are modifying the dashboard to respond to requests made by the public for a better overall picture of how COVID-19 affects the Bahamas.
The new dashboard includes the number of active COVID-19 cases, hospitalized cases, the number of COVID-19 cases on each island, and the number of tests completed in the country. But the number of persons in quarantine category was eliminated. Well, Dr. Leviticus Roll says he believes that bit of information is critical, and he is concerned. He says citizens may become complacent.
There's still so much about this virus that we don't know, that nobody knows because it's fairly new to us. For example, we don't know what happens 3 months, 6 months, 9 months after an initial attack by the virus. And so I think we still need to be extra cautious because we don't yet have an effective vaccine nor effective treatment. And we do know that the numbers are still going up.
Now, the number of confirmed cases on Grand Bahama still stands at 7, but Roll says he sees a number of patients on a daily basis who presents suspicious symptoms.
Fever and cough, and a lot of persons are then referred to the hotline so that they can be examined, perhaps tested.
He says now is not the time for anyone to drop their guard, as history teaches a very important lesson about past pandemics. He says history shows that there is usually a second wave.
It's during that first wave, people are hypervigilant. It's during that second wave that they relax and the virus is able to spread even more quickly. So I am concerned, as most healthcare workers are, that we may see a second wave that may be worse than the first. And what would prevent that is if we just continue to practice our social distancing and remain vigilant.
Italia Hall, ZNS Network News.
Well, New York is the epicenter of COVID-19 in the United States, and there are many Bahamians in the medical profession there who are fighting to save the lives of thousands of affected patients. Today, we hear from a Grand Bahamian registered nurse who shares what it is to be in this medical war, as she encourages Bahamians to take heed to all warnings. Shoshina Rowe-Farquharson has her story.
Wife and mother of 2, Ashley Woodside, is a registered nurse at Mount Sinai, Maine in New York, the state in the United States that has the highest amount of cases in the country. The hospital is busy, and many have considered the state as a medical war zone. Woodside has worked in the operating room for the past 3 years, but she says with the COVID-19 pandemic, nurses from all departments have been deployed to assist in the coronavirus battle. She admits that the nurses are overwhelmed.
They take in us from everywhere just to get help. So once you get to the floor, it's you have to hit the ground running. It's patient after patient and medication. Everyone's on oxygen. If they're not on regular oxygen, they're on high flow oxygen or a ventilator. So it's very overwhelming, but like I said before, it's just one of those situations where they take you and you just have to jump in and help as much as possible.
And the job is not an easy one. She shares the pain of watching affected COVID-19 patients endure the virus.
A lot of them can't breathe on their own. The ones that are on ventilators, their respiratory therapy has to come in and suction them and give them their medication. The ones that are able to breathe on their own, not on ventilators, which is, the high flow nasal cannula oxygen, it's very difficult to them to even eat. We have to help them with eating, walking, even turning and positioning. Just to put it into perspective, we have a team of nurses that come around just to turn the patients every few hours because they're not able to reposition themselves.
But she says the good news is they are now starting to see more patients recover.
We've been having a lot of discharges. Mind you, the discharges, the patients are still positive. they're not going home just, completely cured, but they're stable enough to go home. I'd say in a day we'd have about 5 discharges. But as soon as that, as soon as that discharge patient is gone, there's an emergency room full of positive patients, so the bed is filled up right away. But in reference to like a few weeks ago, there weren't any discharges.
But her heart is still at home in the Bahamas with her family.
I am, because I know that the Bahamas is such a small country and we don't have enough resources and equipment. Like I said, my number one concern is my family. I just, I drill into them every day, make sure that they're wearing their PPE, listen to the lockdown that the Prime Minister put in place. And I say, my motto is mask up, gloves up, prayed up, just prayers.
Right.
That's all you could do.
She encourages Bahamians to take this virus seriously.
As an essential worker on the front lines, recently having to go out into the field and leave my home and my family. I just recently had a baby, so I have a newborn at home, and I also have my 85-year-old grandmother in the house. And, you might feel healthy and you might feel as though you're not going to get it, or you might feel as though, you're taking all the necessary precautions, but it's for the people that you come back home to that aren't able to fight off the disease.
The government recently easing some restrictions, allowing for hardware stores to reopen, but at a limited capacity. Here on Grand Bahama, one of the stores in that category is Dolly Madison. Store operators say they are well stocked to meet the demand. Jay Philippe reports.
The Dolly Madison Home Center, which is a hardware and houseware retailer store still catering to residential and commercial customers. The store recently opened their doors, but is limited to just 2 days of operations, Wednesdays and Fridays from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m.
Dolly Madison is conforming to the government's protocol and guidelines as it relates to COVID-19. We do control the number of persons who are coming into the store, so we have make sure that we are practicing social distancing. And apart from that, what we're doing is we're trying to make sure that our customers are comfortable when they come into the store and that they are still able to receive the goods and the services that they often receive from Dolly Madison.
Roll says their operations are dictated by the government's mandate for hardware stores. As far as inventory is concerned, James says they have more than enough items in storage, and hence inventory is not a challenge.
The fact that we only open 2 days out of the week, okay, we have always had the inventory. It's just a matter of we have not had the opportunity to be able to allow customers to have access to those inventories. And now we are. In fact, one of the main things that we realize that customers are interested in now, seeing that we have all of this control and social distancing, a lot of people are practicing backyard farming and making sure that they're farming in their yards and whatnot. And so one of the things we've done within the last week is we made sure that we, in fact, just today, we have a trailer on site that has nothing other than soil and fertilizers.
Pamela Roberts, owner of Dolly Madison, says a smooth system has been put in place to better assist customers.
Everyone has been very well behaved. Everybody's wearing masks. We're doing the 6 meter distancing, and we haven't had any problems. Nobody is complaining. We have a senior line and a handicap line, which we're allowing in ahead of some of the other people. So please come along. It's quite civilized down here. We don't have problems. And we're only limiting the number of people in the store. So there's plenty of social distancing going on.
Dolly Madison was hard hit by Hurricane Dorian in September. The general manager says that prior to the COVID-19 pandemic, the store was hoping to move to the old Rooms to Go area. However, those plans have been put on hold.
Of course, COVID-19 has put a delay and damper on everything else, so we're behind schedule, but our intention is to relocate this store in the old Rooms to Go area so that customers can have a more comfortable shopping area And of course, we will also be able to expand our inventory on the floor so that customers can have access to everything.
I'm Jay Philippe, ZNS Network News.
For the community of Abaco, this COVID-19 health crisis comes at a time when the island is trying to recover from Monster Storm Dorian. And as the 2020 Atlantic hurricane season approaches, residents say they are relying on faith to pull them through. In this report, Jamila Mizik talks with the Christian Council leader to find out how churches are coping at this time.
It's been some 8 months since the passage of Hurricane Dorian, and the island of Abaco is still in recovery mode. President of the Abaco Christian Council, Pastor Edgebert Tinker, says as it relates to repairs to churches on the island, the progress has been slow.
There are a few churches that have started to rebuild, and they got help from some of the NGOs here, like the Jehovah's Witnesses church is already completed and everything, and then there's some more churches in Central Abaco, like Soul Saving. They're getting some help and they're under repair as well.
And with just 1 month left before the start of the 2020 Atlantic hurricane season, Pastor Tinker says there are some concerns.
We're constantly praying that the Lord would only allow the breeze to come our way and not direct it from another hurricane. Abaco cannot take another direction at this time because we have people still with tarps and no roofs. In fact, it started to rain and thunder last night here, and my house is full of water because I'm still in one of those who still have tarps on my roof also. So we're praying that the Lord would be merciful to us.
Now, the doors of all churches have been closed since the emergency orders were put in place by the government back in March. However, Pastor Tinker says churches in Abaco are trying to cope with this new reality.
It's been a challenge. It's been a new way of doing things, and a lot of them have reverted to online platforms like Zoom and meeting places like that, and there are some churches that are members via those media. And then there are some, like on the Keys, Mount Island, I know for sure. North Abaco, I know for sure. There are others with the that the government allow for the churches. And so we are trying our best. North Island in particular, every day, 3 p.m., they go to pray for the nation and pray for this upcoming hurricane season, and so on and so forth. So we're trying our best to, get used to this new normal.
He's asking Bahamians to continue to keep both Abaco and Grand Bahama in prayer. Jamila Mizik, ZNS Network News.
Good evening, Bahamas. Pastor Sherrod A. McAlpine here with Freeport Fellowship Center. And on behalf of our senior pastor, the Honorable Frederick A. McAlpine, and our congregation, I want to encourage you with this one scripture. Psalm 125:1. They that trust in the Lord shall be as Mount Zion, which cannot be shaken, but endures forever. Listen, as we walk through this pandemic, I want to remind you and encourage you that our trust is not in the strategies of man. Our trust is not in a governmental system. Our trust is not in a vaccine, though we are grateful for those things. Our trust, our hope, our faith is in the Lord our God. And no matter what comes our way, we will not be moved. And who God keeps is well kept. Listen, Grand Bahama and the Bahamas at large, I want to remind you and encourage you that we are praying for you and with you. And we declare that as Psalm 91 says, no plague shall come nigh your dwelling. Listen, love each other, be kind to one another, look out for one another. Please be safe, and God bless.
The Salvation Army helping hundreds of residents in need. Find out how right after this break.